get involved in rapid America in the midst of the 19th century. In the Nevada territory, where until recently only a handful of buffalo grazed, nowadays it's all hustle and bustle. Beyond the Sierra and near the Carson River, gold has been found. There's supposed to be loads of it. All you need to do is dig it up. Anyone who keeps at it hard enough will be richly rewarded. What a splendid opportunity. Welcome to uncharted territory, newcomer. Want to get rich? Then you're in just the right place. Gold rush fever holds sway in Virginia City. And you lucky devil, you've won the mining rights for a promising claim in a poker game at the Red Dog Saloon. Soon you'll be hauling out gold nuggets as big as a cat's head. Thanks to cleverness and luck at cards, you have a gold mine all your own. The former owner, a gal at the saloon by the name of Susie, who plays a lousy, get an overview and find out where the riches lie. Discover the entrance to the tunnel. What a promising claim, even though only build a station where the horse carts can be packed with logs. explain to the sort of thick-skulled driver which route he should take. Now, there's got to be a small depot to park the horse-drawn carts too. Everything's all set. Now, all you have to do is to get hold of a cart to transport the wood. A sturdy vehicle. The transport can get started. It won't be long before it's possible to dig deeper. Well then, good luck. Not everything that glitters is gold. Maybe your poker partner was sharper than you thought. Despite all... So, you got rid of the silver mine for a decent amount. Time to invest this money in a lucrative venture. And there's an excellent opportunity. All the ore from the mine must be transported to the silver mills down by the river. A railroad that takes over the transport would be a promising venture. terrain is treacherous, requires a few very twisted curves. Build a railroad route that rapidly transports all the ore to the valley. A respectable railroad calls for a proper railroad yard. A truly well-done structure. Now it just needs to be connected. It's high time to buy a beautiful locomotive together with a few freight cars. What a handsome iron horse. Time to send it on its maiden journey. Ore transport is picking up speed. With a little luck, it'll make you richer than all the silver in Nevada ever could. Yes, the deed is done. The first train is rolling down the line. People are dropping everything to cheer your marvel of engineering. Don't pass up the chance to climb aboard. Give them a friendly wave. Silver smelting is moving fast and furious. Meanwhile, all sorts of fine ladies find out about the needs of your future passengers. Let's have a big round of applause. Your services are needed to the same degree everywhere in town. No end to the rejoicing. All thanks to you. Make sure your coaches don't miss any stops. Build a depot where the horses can be hitched up and the coaches can wait. purchase a few coaches with horses so that you can get started. Great. The first passengers are already waiting. The Territorial Enterprise reports. A beast is up to no good in the area. The reporter, a certain Mr. Clemens, has revealed his source to you. An old good-for-nothing by the name of Sam Hawkins. He's supposed to be in the saloon in Virginia City. Could be it means buying him a couple of shots of hard liquor before he comes up with the truth. The good man was happy to provide information. The monster got a few feet taller with each whiskey you bought him. Word has it that it gobbles up whole cows and picks the remains out of its teeth with a wagon tongue. Our informer thinks it's hanging around. Old Cartwright and his son didn't take too kindly to your visit to the Ponderosa Ranch. Apparently you're not the first to be hot on the monster's heels. The Territorial Enterprise, we're not. Make sure that the rest of the world is finally connected to Carson City, a veritable boom town. Buy a train arrangement that brings people from all over the world to Carson City. to inaugurate the line from Reno to Carson City, the town built on silver. There's firewood up in Glenbrook that'll get the steam engines in the silver works. You barely got away from the Cartwright boys. Now get a respectable load of logs down to the valley as fast as possible before the ranchers come back again. We're off and running. Everyone is dead set on riding your beautiful railroad. thanks to the supply, silver ore processing is running. The island of Java, tropical jewel in the midst of the Indian Ocean, conscientiously administrated by a meticulous Dutch bureaucracy. The year is 1870, and the colony is undergoing a transformation. Recently, individuals have been allowed to lease farmland and manage plantations. The fertile land offers ideal conditions for exporting a multitude of colonial goods, off on the way to an exotic experience. The Dutch East Indies. Surely the most exemplary colonial empire under the sun. With luscious fruits and cheap labour in abundance. You act on behalf of the colonial administration. A gifted talent in the art of engineering, you have been appointed to modernise the local transport sector. Complete this task to the satisfaction of the Crown. If you do, even the post as governor might be in store for you. Transport is a much sought-after service on this scarcely civilized. Anyone set on building wisely and cheaply avoids unnecessary slopes, perform the necessary surveying work. Build a route from the thriving plantation across treacherous terrain to the processing factory where the coffee fruit is husked. A depot is needed. Purchase a complete train, including locomotive and freight cars. The coffee fruit can now be brought from the plantations on its way to further processing. What a superb railway! It provides the local plantation leaseholders with truly valuable services. Still fresh from the fields, the fruit quickly Specially built stations are called for, so that the first-rate coffee makes it into town undamaged. If need be, stations that can be guarded against plundering hordes. Ready to go. Nothing stands in the way of speedy transportation to the local seaport anymore. Send the freight cars of coffee on their way. The factory now finds itself in a laudable position by sending processed coffee into town to experience considerable growth. Oh no! Lucas, the capable engineer in your several locals show an interest in learning the decidedly noble profession as locomotive engineer. A practice route for training purposes is needed. Meanwhile, certain signs are feeding horrible rumors about the indigenous tribe's diet. Thanks to your reliable deliveries, one train isn't enough to adequately supply the factory with coffee fruit. A passing siding is needed so that a second train can use the line. The trains should wait for each other on the passing siding. This requires placing signals. If the plant is to be used to its fullest capacity, another complete train is needed.